Hello again, this is Wissam Zarqa again. Last video, I talked about general tips for improving speaking skills. I talked about different forms, and also I talked about what you need to have better speaking skills. This time, I will go more into detail talking about IELTS requirements. What are the tasks required for the IELTS exam, the 3 tasks. And also, I will try to remind you of what we talked about last time. So here is sharing my screen. And so this was basically what we talked about last time. We talked about how we start with single words and simple expressions. Then we go higher in difficulty into understanding and answering short questions, then describing people, places, experiences, then abstract ideas. And abstract ideas are things we can't see usually. It's more about feelings and such things and concepts. Then these two things are not related to IELTS exam, but just talking about more difficult things like debates, dialogue, conversations, and public speaking. For all of that, we need rich vocabulary, we need strong adjectives, using strong adjectives, collocations, idioms, and proverbs. And also, we need to master nonverbal communication. We need to have correct pronunciation and to good use of stress and intonation and speaking naturally. I tried to explain all these expressions in the previous video. I also talked about having correct grammar and varied structures, which was also more or less about grammar. So I talked about all of that, but there was one important idea I didn't talk about, which is this. The most important thing is to speak from your heart, to believe in what you say. This can help you to have access to people's hearts, to people's minds, and to make your speaking ability really unique. So speak from your heart and believe in what you say. Now, this is the book I will depend on in this course. It's called IELTS Masterclass. It's a short book, less than 200 pages usually, and I will focus only on the speaking part of it. Usually these books, IELTS books, 600, 700, maybe more. So this is just a short book, good as a start for people who would like to prepare. And there are varied topics. Before I go to the topics, let me talk again about the 3 tasks for the speaking, IELTS speaking. The first task, 4 to 5 minutes about familiar discussion. Like they start with introduction, talk about yourself and your ID, they check your ID. Then you have to answer questions about familiar topics. What do you mean by familiar topics? Yourself, your home, family, job and studies and interests. Here, just be careful, don't just give short answers. What do? I am a teacher, I'm a student. This is not enough. Just give more details. So this is important. And this is about, as I've said, 4 to 5 minutes. And this is the easiest because these things we usually practice a lot. Now, to go higher in difficulty, we go to the second task, which is extended speaking. And here you will be given the question written. Here you have to describe things usually. They give you a question, you can read it. You have 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to talk about, 1 or 2 minutes to speak about it. So it could be to talk about a person or a place, object, or an event. And here you have 2 follow-up questions. Maybe like in the previous one, I said you will have the 2 follow-up questions in the last part. No, it's in the second part where you have the 2 follow-up questions. It's related to what you talk about. So if you describe a person, they might ask you to say why. You said something, they ask you why, or to give examples. These are the 2, the follow-up questions usually. It's related. They are related to what you have already talked about. 3 to 4 minutes. The last part, which is topic discussion, you answer verbal questions. Here it's not written, you just listen to it. Discussing more abstract ideas linked to the topic of part 2. So the topic here, the question here could be linked to this part. But about abstract, about concepts. something not easy to talk about. So this is usually the most difficult part. Okay, so this is the general format of the IELTS exam. This is how life goes on to. This is how you start. You start with short questions, answering short questions in your life. Then sometimes you have to describe something happened with you, okay, or to describe places or people. Then with more, like when you have to go deeper in expressing your speaking skills, you go into topic discussions, okay, talk about abstract things. So this is similar to life, more or less. They give you some tips in this book about speaking skills or speaking exam, in fact. They are numbered from 16 to 20 because the previous tips are about reading and listening and writing. So in speaking, don't try to give a prepared speech or talk about different topic from the one you are asked to discuss. So they ask about something, talk directly about it. They ask you about life in the city, don't talk about life in the village, for example. You should talk about life in the city because you are familiar more about life with the village. No, this doesn't work. Just answer the question. And usually there is a recorder, you know, to give you marks. They don't just depend on the person who is the examiner. They record everything, but don't get trapped into speaking to the recorder. Just speak to the person in front of you, to the examiner. Whenever you reply with yes or no to the examiner's questions, add more details. Maybe in real life, it's enough to say yes and no. But when you talk about exams, when you talk about interviews, don't just say yes or no. Say more, explain, please. At least aim to explain at least one point, one more point. The next tip, remember that you are not being tested on your general knowledge, but on your ability to communicate effectively. So it's not necessary that you give perfect information. It's about speaking skills. It's not about mental ability. It's not about general knowledge, what you know. In interviews, yeah, it might be like that. You have to focus more on the quality of information you introduce. But sometimes even works if you just know how to express yourself well. The last tip, which is the most important, organize and link your ideas and sentences appropriately, talking clearly at normal speed. So not very fast, not very slow, and using wide range of structures and vocabulary. This is what I was trying to explain in the introduction. So these are the tips. The book has got varied topics. For example, about meeting people. This is the speaking topics anyway. Changing places. What do you really know about food? Arts events, jobs, learning styles, moral dilemmas, future technology, cultural identity, zoos, free time activities, design, past and present, and finally, reading habits. So these are the general topics, varied topics, because this is what you can have in an IELTS exam, speaking exam. This is what you can have in life, varied topics. So this is just like an introduction. How do you generally feel when you meet people for the first time? You might be confused how to answer this question. You can say, I feel embarrassed because I'm a shy person. I don't know what to say. This is a possible answer. You can say, I feel curious. I always need to know some information about people I meet for the first time. So I feel curious and I think of questions to ask. You can answer this way. So the second question, what are the things you want to know about people when you first meet them? Again, you can say, I just want to know basic information about their name, their age, their education level, where they are from, okay? Or you can say, I need to know some about their interests, what they are interested in, so that I will see if there is something in common between us. You can answer this way. You can just go more advanced in answering this question. Anyway, we answer this question in maybe 30 seconds. You don't need to say a lot about it. The last question, are there topics you could not talk comfortably about with people you have just met? Are there taboo subjects in your culture? Yeah, you can say people you meet for the first time, usually you don't speak with them about two personal things. Yeah, you might say you are married, you might say you are, for example, you have children, but it would not be normal to ask them, do you like your wife? Or do you usually have trouble with your wife? Or to ask about their salary? Yeah, it's okay to ask what do you do, but not how much do you get or what is your salary. This is embarrassing. Taboos, maybe politics and religion. These are taboos because they might need to argument. That's why people avoid them. Again, short answers. This is a task where we have to listen and match the speakers with the questions. What are the questions? A, how could your town or village be improved? Is there anything you dislike about your hometown or village? What do you like most about your hometown or village? What is there in your town or village that visitors would find interesting? The last question, what kind of place is your hometown or village? Maybe the last question is confusing. Some people don't understand this question. It means describe your hometown or village in general. This is what kind of a place. It means describe in general. Now, do you think these questions are put in the right order, logical order? Can we just start with how could your town or village be improved? Usually, what is the most suitable question to be at the beginning? Maybe it's the last question, just generous description of your hometown or village. Maybe after that, you can ask about what do you like most? Or maybe you can ask what is there in your town or village that visitors would find interesting? Maybe the question before the last would be, is there anything you dislike about your hometown or village? And the last question, how could your town or village be improved? I guess this would be the logical order if you want to answer all these questions. So you need to organize your answers somehow to say them in logical order. Organization is not only in writing, it could be also in speaking. What is very logical to start with. So organization of your speech is important. They give marks for that. Okay, I will not do the listening now anyway, but it's useful to listen and see how these questions can be answered anyway. Unit 1. And here, again, they ask you to listen again and see how they start. This is quite important because you can just memorize. The thing I like most about my hometown or village, you say it without thinking. You just memorize it and say it. The thing I like most about my class, the thing I like most about my country, it's just a cliche. It's very important to memorize such things. They will make your fluency much better, in fact. So they have some focus on learning such things and using them. Okay, the last thing I would like to finish with is more examples about task 1, short questions. You can say, can you tell me something about your family? Can you tell me something about your country? Can you tell me something about your friends, whatever? Or what's your favorite food? What's your favorite way to learn English? What do you do? What do you most like about your country? What do you most dislike about holidays? As an example. What sort of things do you do to learn English, for example? What sort of things do you do on holidays or in your spare time? So these kind of questions, try to just answer them. Try to have this question, ask yourself this question, and try to imagine that you are answering it. Imagination would make big difference and would make your fluency much better, because here there is no stress. You are talking to yourself. You are not stressed that I will make a mistake. You just think, imagine that you are someone asking you these questions and answer them, and do that anywhere, anytime. You are on transportation, you are just lying in bed before sleeping, you are eating. I don't mention other examples where you can just think about these questions and try to answer them talking to yourself. That would make your fluency much better. I would like to finish here, and I hope it was useful.